Hey everyone, glad you could join me again. I've been wandering around in Minecraft villages tonight, trading, exploring, and just seeing what surprises pop up. And honestly, that feels a lot like real life. Sometimes you stumble across things you were never supposed to see, and they change everything. Today's Reddit story is one of those explosive discoveries that turns family, love, and trust upside down. Today's story is titled, "Caught My Spoiled Sister Kissing My BF a week before her wedding. Told her fiancé, thought he ignored it, but he shocked everyone at the wedding." This one is dramatic, messy, and it'll leave you stunned at how it all played out. As a 30-year-old woman, I found myself grappling with a troubling situation involving my 24-year-old sister and my 31-year-old partner. With my sister's wedding drawing near, I started noticing odd behaviour in how she interacted with my partner. At first it was subtle, nothing glaring, just small actions that left me uneasy. It began with offhand remarks like her saying, "You're hilarious," to my partner's quips, even when they weren't particularly clever. Her laughter seemed overly eager, ringing out louder than the moment called for. Initially, I brushed it off, thinking she was just caught up in the wedding buzz and being extra sociable. But as time went on, more concerning signs emerged. She began finding reasons to make light physical contact, resting a hand on his shoulder during a chat or brushing against him as she passed by. These moments were fleeting but noticeable. I also caught her gazing at him a little too long when she thought no one was watching, which left me with a knot in my stomach. One night, after a family gathering where my sister's flirtatious behaviour was particularly obvious, I decided to bring it up with my partner. As we settled in at home, I turned to him and asked, "Did you pick up on how Emma was acting tonight?" He looked puzzled and replied, "What are you talking about?" I pointed out the excessive giggles, the casual touches, and the prolonged looks I'd noticed. He listened quietly, but then gave a small shrug, saying, "You're probably reading too much into it. She's just hyped about the wedding. It's nothing." His words didn't ease my mind. The situation felt far from innocent. Despite his attempt to reassure me, the unease lingered, so I resolved to pay closer attention, hoping I was just imagining things. The next few weeks were strained. Whenever we were around my sister, I found myself hyper-aware of her every move. She seemed to always maneuver herself close to my partner, choosing a seat beside him whenever possible, and coming up with endless reasons to ask for his input on wedding details, even when I was right there. During a family picnic at our parents' place, I stepped away briefly to grab a drink. When I returned, I spotted my sister and partner off to the side, talking quietly, standing closer than necessary. She was chuckling at something he'd said, a sound that twisted my gut. The second they saw me, they stepped apart quickly, and my sister wandered off like nothing had happened. A wave of frustration and hurt hit me, but I held back from saying anything in front of everyone, not wanting to stir up drama at the gathering. That night, once we were alone, I tried to address it calmly. I asked my partner what he and my sister had been discussing earlier. Caught off guard, he explained they were just going over some wedding logistics, like the playlist for the reception. His answer didn't sit right with me. Why did a simple chat require them to stand so close? He let out a sigh, visibly irritated, and insisted I was making something out of nothing. He swore there was no issue, that my sister was just being warm and friendly. Unable to hold back, I voiced my frustration, pointing out that her actions felt like more than just friendliness, and that he wasn't doing anything to discourage it. He looked stung, asking what I wanted him to do. "She's your sister," he said. "I'm just trying to be nice." Telling her to back off feels unnecessary. I suggested he could at least set clear boundaries to show he wasn't open to anything beyond politeness, but he maintained he had no interest in her, and that I was seeing problems where none existed. Our discussion spiraled, each of us digging in, leaving us both upset and no closer to a resolution. We went to bed frustrated, the issue hanging unresolved between us. The next day, I knew I had to confront my sister directly. Ignoring it was only making things worse. I texted her to meet for a coffee, and she agreed cheerfully, seemingly unaware of my growing concerns. We met at a cozy cafe near her place. I was anxious, my hands fidgeting with my cup, while she bubbled with excitement about her wedding plans, oblivious to my discomfort. After a few minutes, I couldn't hold back anymore. Cutting into her chatter, I said we needed to talk about something serious. Her expression shifted to surprise as she asked what was wrong. Taking a deep breath, I explained that her behaviour around my partner, James, was making me uneasy. The flirtatious comments, the unnecessary touches, the lingering stares. I made it clear that it needed to stop. Her face cycled through emotions, shock, then confusion, and finally irritation. She demanded to know what I meant, firmly denying any flirtation. I stood my ground, explaining that her actions, intentional or not, were inappropriate and causing me distress. She let out a sharp laugh, dismissing my concerns as absurd, saying James was basically family, and she was just being friendly. Her words didn't ease the tension. I could tell I'd hit a nerve. The conversation grew heated, and it was clear we weren't going to resolve this easily. I pressed on, saying it wasn't just friendliness, it was the constant need to be near him, to touch him, to laugh at every little thing he said. Her face flushed with anger, stunned that I'd bring this up so close to her wedding. She snapped back, questioning my trust and suggesting I was just insecure. Her words stung, but I held firm, explaining that this wasn't about insecurity, but about respect. I told her she was crossing boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, and it needed to stop. Abruptly, she stood, her chair scraping against the floor, signalling the end of our talk. She declared she wouldn't sit there and listen to what she called baseless accusations. If I couldn't trust my own sister, she said, that was my problem, not hers. With that, she stormed out of the cafe, leaving me alone with a whirlwind of emotions. I felt terrible and started doubting myself. Had I gone too far? Was I just being overly suspicious? When I got home, my partner could tell something was off right away. He asked what happened, and I recounted the tense exchange with my sister. As I described what went down, I saw worry flicker across his face. When I finished, he let out a long breath and said he thought I'd made a mistake. He was concerned that Emma would be deeply hurt, especially with her wedding so close. Feeling defensive, I asked if he was siding with her. He quickly clarified that he wasn't picking sides, but he doubted Emma had been flirting with him. Even if she had, which he thought was unlikely, he felt confronting her so directly wasn't the best way to handle it. His words left me torn, unsure if I'd done the right thing. Tears welled up as I asked, my voice thick with frustration. So what was I supposed to do? Just let it slide. Sensing my distress, my partner came over and gently pulled me into a hug. He suggested I could have approached it differently. Maybe talked to him more first or spoken to Emma in a less confrontational way. He worried that now, with how things had played out, Emma was likely upset with both of us, which could make her wedding awkward and strained. Overwhelmed, I stepped back from his embrace and asked, "So this is all my fault?" I needed to know if he truly thought I was to blame. He sighed, struggling to find the right words, and said he wasn't pinning it all on me, but he did think my emotions might have gotten the better of me. We went back and forth, but it was clear we weren't seeing eye to eye. Neither of us was willing to fully understand the other's perspective. Eventually, he headed to bed, leaving me alone with my spiraling thoughts and doubts. The days that followed were heavy with tension. My sister stopped talking to me completely, creating a painful rift. My parents, noticing Emma's distress, called to ask why she was so upset. I tried to explain, but their responses made it clear they thought I'd overreacted. As the wedding approached, I grew more uncertain about what to do. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, a role that now felt like a heavy weight. I wasn't even sure if Emma still wanted me there. My partner, however, was still invited and suggested we both attend to show there were no hard feelings. But the idea of standing there, watching my sister walk down the aisle while knowing how angry and hurt she was, made me feel sick. The situation had become a tangled mess, and I didn't know how to unravel it without causing more pain. I tried calling Emma several times, but she never picked up. I left voicemails apologising and saying we needed to talk, but they went unanswered. I even stopped by her apartment, but she shut the door in my face. My anxiety grew as the wedding loomed, though my partner kept insisting I should let it go, that it would all blow over. In a vivid dream, I showed up at the wedding, and everyone turned to stare, whispering and pointing. I woke up trembling, drenched in a cold sweat. Update. After confronting Emma, things took a turn for the worse. She told our mum about my accusations, and Mum was furious. She called me, yelling about how I could be so selfish right before Emma's wedding. "How could you accuse your own sister of something like that?" she shouted, refusing to hear my side. She demanded I fix it and apologised to Emma immediately. The strain on our family was unbearable. Emma still wouldn't speak to me, and now my parents were upset too. James, my partner, kept saying I was blowing things out of proportion, which only deepened my frustration and sadness. A week before the wedding, I went to my parents' house to try to clear things up. As I approached the front door, I heard hushed voices coming from the side of the house. Curious, I walked toward the garden and froze at what I saw. Partly hidden behind a large shrub, Emma and James were locked in a tight embrace, kissing passionately. Emma's arms were wrapped around his shoulders, his hands resting on her waist, completely lost in each other. They didn't even notice me standing there. It felt like a punch to the gut. All the air left my lungs, and for a moment, I couldn't move or speak. As the reality hit, a surge of anger and betrayal overwhelmed me. My emotions took over, and I shouted, "What is this?" My voice shook with the weight of what I was seeing. Their reaction was instant. Shock and guilt written all over their faces. Emma's face went pale as she realised she'd been caught, while James stammered, "It's not what you think." But it was exactly what it looked like, confirming every suspicion I'd had. Tears streamed down my face as I choked out, "How could you? My own sister and my partner." The pain in my voice was raw. Emma started crying too, her voice trembling as she tried to apologise. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, fumbling for an explanation. "It just happened." But I couldn't listen to their excuses. The betrayal cut too deep. Without another word, I turned and ran to my car, their calls for me to come back fading behind me. As I drove away, my phone buzzed non-stop. First James, then Emma, then my mum. I couldn't bring myself to answer. The pain was too fresh. When I got home, I felt numb. I packed a bag with clothes and essentials, unable to stay in that space after what I'd seen. I sent James a final text. "We're over. Don't contact me." Then I turned off my phone and left. Now I'm writing this from a hotel room in a nearby town, unsure of my next move. With the wedding just days away, I know I can't attend. My relationship is shattered, and the bond I had with my sister may be broken beyond repair. My whole world feels upside down. Everyone made me feel like I was irrational for suspecting something, but I was right all along. The pain of that truth is almost too much, and I'm left wondering how I'll ever trust anyone again. Update. After the gut-wrenching discovery of Emma and James together, I spent days in a daze, trying to process the betrayal. My phone kept buzzing with messages and calls from both of them and my parents, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. The hurt was too overwhelming. Eventually, I realised that Daniel, Emma's fiancé, deserved to know the truth. With a heavy heart, I decided to call him. When he answered, I could hear the confusion in his voice. He asked what was going on, saying Emma had been a mess, claiming I'd vanished and wasn't answering anyone. Gathering my courage, I took a deep breath and began explaining everything to Daniel. I shared how I'd first noticed Emma's odd behaviour around James, how everyone, including James and Emma, had dismissed my concerns as paranoia, and then I described the shocking moment I caught them in a passionate embrace in my parents' garden. Daniel listened in silence, only occasionally letting out a quiet sound to show he was still there, taking it all in. When I finished, a heavy pause hung over the line. Then in a calm, measured tone, Daniel thanked me for being honest and said he needed time to process it. With that, he ended the call. I sat there staring at my phone, wondering what Daniel would do now that he knew the truth. As the wedding day neared, I heard nothing more from him or my family. Emma stopped reaching out, and I began to suspect she'd somehow convinced Daniel to overlook her actions. The thought that she might move forward with her dream wedding while my life was in pieces made me feel sick. I knew I couldn't attend the ceremony. Standing there, watching her walk down the aisle after what she'd done, was unthinkable. Instead, I decided to spend the day alone, focusing on how to piece my life back together after such a devastating betrayal. On the night of the wedding, my cousin Lily called, her voice brimming with urgency and excitement. "You won't believe what just happened," she whispered. Confused but curious, I urged her to explain. Lily launched into the story, describing how everything had seemed fine at first. Emma looked radiant in her gown, and Daniel stood at the altar, ready for the ceremony. But when the moment came for the vows, Daniel stepped forward and announced he had something to say. My heart raced as Lily recounted what happened next. In front of everyone, Daniel declared he couldn't go through with the wedding. He revealed that he couldn't marry someone who had betrayed her own sister by getting involved with her partner, shattering her life. Lily said Emma's face went white as Daniel spoke. Then, to the shock of the guests, Daniel turned to my parents, apologising and explaining that they deserved to know the real reason I'd pulled away from the family. Lily went on, describing how Emma broke down in tears. My parents stood stunned and confused, and the guests began murmuring, trying to piece together the drama. Daniel walked out of the venue, leaving Emma sobbing alone at the altar. "It was like a scene from a film," Lily said, her voice still tinged with disbelief. "Everyone's reeling. Your parents are trying to get answers from Emma, but she's a mess." As I processed Lily's words, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me felt validated. The truth was finally out. But I also felt a deep sorrow for the chaos this had caused my family. Sensing my quietness, Lily softly asked, "Are you okay?" I hesitated before answering. "I don't know. I never wanted it to end like this." After a bit more conversation with Lily, I hung up and sat in silence, trying to make sense of it all. The truth was out, but at what cost? My bond with Emma was shattered. My relationship with James was over, and my family was in turmoil. While the truth was now in the open, it didn't magically fix everything. Healing and rebuilding trust would be a long journey. Still, for the first time since this ordeal began, I felt a small sense of relief. At least I could move forward without the burden of hidden truths weighing me down. As for what comes next, I'm uncertain. I know I'll eventually have to face my family, but for now, I'm taking it one day at a time. This experience has taught me the importance of trusting my instincts and standing up for myself, even when others try to make me doubt what I see. To everyone who supported me through this, thank you. Your encouragement means more than you know. And to anyone else going through something similar, trust your gut. Don't let anyone convince you to ignore what you know to be true. And that's the story. Sometimes secrets have a way of coming out at the worst possible moment, but also in the most powerful way. Betrayal doesn't just break relationships, it can flip entire lives upside down in an instant. I'll keep wandering through Minecraft, because here at least the surprises are a little less devastating. Thanks for sticking around with me, and I'll be back with another unforgettable Reddit story soon.